Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. This is the next one in our series of the moon in conjunction with other planets, and today we're looking at the moon conjunct with Mars. Well, how do you know if you've got moon conjunct with Mars in the chart? One of the first things that you can do is pop over to www.astro.com, and there you'll find the opportunity to plug in your details, your birth date and time and place, and what you'll get is something that looks a little like this fellow, which is my well-loved, well-worn chart that I've had for years, which I've scribbled all over. But down one side there will be a list of glyphs correlating to planets. What you want to look for is the moon and its glyph, what that looks like, and then you want to look for Mars and its masculine symbol glyph. And once you know what you're looking for, then you just pop over to the chart bit, the map bit, and you look for the moon symbol with the Mars symbol, and if they are together within 10 little lines, which are seen here, they're actually the degrees. And so if you've got moon and Mars symbol within 10 degrees of one another, then you've got a conjunction of the moon and Mars together in your chart. Particularly strong if they're in the same sign, which are seen by these outside symbols around here. So check that out. Hope that helps you determine whether you've got moon and Mars conjunction in your chart. The next thing that we want to have a look at is what does the moon represent and what does Mars represent in this big cauldron of conjunction that we're mixing together, the energy of Mars with the energy of the moon. Well, the moon represents, firstly, our mothering and our mother nature. So we look to the moon to find out what our mother might have been like and how she mothered us, with what qualities, with what attributes she mothered us. Similarly, it will tell us a lot about how we will mother and nurture our own children when they come, or just generally the nature of care and kindness and nurturing that we give to others. So that's what the moon represents in terms of the mothering energy, the nurturing, caring, kind, giving energy of the moon. It's also in a man's chart, the moon represents it's one of the indicators that we look for in terms of what a man will want in a wife. So, if just say the moon is in Cancer, he might want a woman who is very, very caring and kind. That's the nature of Cancer, quite imaginative, quite flowing and dreamy, although not as dreamy as Pisces, but it is that water spiritual energy. So he might look for a woman like that, someone who might be even a bit family oriented when the moon is in Cancer. So a man will look for a partner based on the moon sign and the qualities that represents. In a woman's chart, the moon is representative of the feminine energy. In fact, in a woman's chart, the moon is stronger in influence than in a man's chart because the moon is a feminine planet and represents feminine energy. So the expression of feminine energy in a woman's chart is seen by the placement of the moon. It's also the moon representative of our past life experiences, what we've done and experienced and seen and been exposed to in our past lives that now impacts upon this current incarnation that we are undergoing. So we can learn a lot by the placement and the conjunctions that affect our moon. Also other aspects as well. We can learn a lot from those in terms of what we've experienced in past lives. Now, how we will behave when we are being most comfortable, most safe, most secure, most ourselves, it's also seen from the moon, because the moon represents what satisfies us, what makes us happy, what our needs are. So we look to the moon to determine our needs. What we need in life to make us happy, safe, secure can be seen by wherever the moon is. For example, my moon is in Libra, and if you have a moon in Libra, then what makes you happy in life, what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel secure is connection and relationship with other people. It does no good to be on your own if you have a moon in Libra, unless you've got other factors playing in that give you a more independent streak, like moon with Uranus. But in the case of most people, say Moon in Libra would say, you will feel satisfied and happiest and most complete in yourself when you are in connection with somebody else, be it a business partnership or any other kind of connection and interaction with others. So we look to the sign placement and the house placement of the moon to tell us about what we need to feel fulfilled and satisfied in life. Our self-image and how we feel most loved can also be summed up by our moon placement and in sign and house as well. Now Mars, this little fiery ball of red energy, I do love the planet Mars. Mars is a warrior. Mars is the energy of the fighter, the knight in shining armor, the hero, the Wonder Woman, the Superman. He's courageous, he's enthusiastic, he's full of energy and fight and vim and drive. He's very independent and he's very, very ambitious as well. Mars energy. Now, on the negative side of Mars energy, because in Vedic astrology he is considered to be one of the malefic planets, like a planet that gives mixed results or some hardship in some ways. So one of the negative attributes of Mars is to be very angry and feisty, someone who likes arguments and who can be aggressive or frustrating. That's one of the more difficult things that Mars represents. But he's also about exercise. He's about physical exertion and our physicality. Not about how our body appears, but how our energy is directed can be determined by Mars's placement in the chart. Mars is also, because of that, connected to our sexuality and our animal instincts, essentially. Our drives, our passions, our desires. So this is what Mars represents in everybody's chart. Now, when you've got Mars and the moon together, mixing their energies up together, what have you got? Well, on the good side, I always like to start with the good news first. The good side of Mars is that you'll be emotionally passionate. The moon is emotions, Mars is passion and desire. So you're going to be an emotionally passionate person. I love emotionally passionate people. There's no, with moon conjunct Mars people, there's no beating around the bush. You always know where you stand because they're so emotionally passionate. They say it as it is. You know where you stand. They also make really passionate and sexy lovers. Hey. So that's really great, actually. You'll be, Mars is the energy of the instigator, someone who likes to start things. And so your lover, if they've got Mars conjunct with the moon, will be very passionate and someone who initiates a lot of physical contact in the relationship. So that can be a lot of fun. There's a zest for life with Mars and the moon together. You're just invigorated about living, about enjoying life, about getting out there and doing it and having fun and going for it. There's an infectious energy to Mars moon people. It's really quite potent. When you're around them, you just can't help but be zested up, G'd up, excited, because they're very excitable, high level of energy type combo, this one. Now, as I said, what you see is what you get with people like this. They'll always be upfront about what they're feeling. You won't be left in the dark. This can be good or bad, You'll know what's going on. They wear their heart on their sleeve. There's just no, if they're down, if they're sad, you know about it. If they're excited, well, they'll be so open and honest about that you'll almost, you can't help but avoid picking up on that zesty, excited, invigorated energy. You will be infected by Mars moon people. So there's a fun, joyful energy here and an honesty too. There's no sort of sneaking around things. They say it as it is. Mars is also a fighter. Mars is also a strategist. So if you've got this combo, you'll be very strategic about your life. You'll have things mapped out and planned, and you'll need to have something to fight for in life. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to go and join the army, but you'll need to have something that's worth exerting yourself for. So it might be that, you know, you've got a grandmother who's very, very sick with some strange disease, and so it gives you the impetus to go and study all about this disease and become a doctor and find a cure for this crazy disease. So it will give you something to fight for, something to work towards, some invigoration that leads you down your life path. Moon conjunct with Mars is very invigorated, fighter energy, warrior energy. Not a lot of people are aware of just how patriotic the moon is, and so is the sign Cancer. It's an energy that's very, as a mother is, defensive of her young. I mean, you could be the most placid person in the world, but if someone tried to do something to your child in the playground, you would be there and like, whoa, get away from my kid kind of thing. Very protective energy. This is just the moon, not when it's with Mars. The moon and the mother energy, that protective, patriotic energy, brings out this sense of I will protect. I'm the mother hen. I'll protect my chicks at all costs. And so this is why the moon energy and Cancer energy are very patriotic about their country or their community where they live. They're very defensive of it. And, you know, same applies to of your children. When this is combined with Mars, woo, you are a force to be reckoned with. You're combining this energy of the patriot, the protector, with the fighter and the warrior. So you don't want people to cross you. If you're moon with Mars, look out. You'll like, let me just step back a minute. The moon is correlated to the sign of Cancer, and the symbology for Cancer is the crab. It's got these little pincers. When a crab bites onto you, it doesn't let go. And that's this nature of the moon in its patriotic protective capacity. Whoa, it will fight. Oh, it will not let go. And when you throw Mars warrior fighter in there, get ready. These guys are a powerhouse, an absolute powerhouse. So there is a great capacity in these people to protect and defend others. This can be at a country level, at a community level, at a family level, and at a personal level. Very much this protective, defensive kind of energy. They're also people with this combo very focused and very ambitious as well. So they will succeed in life through sheer force of will. Moon-Mars combo. They will also be the kind of people who have very strong opinions about things. They'll always be ready to fight for their opinions as well. So if you've got this combo, I just encourage you, make sure your opinions are well informed so you don't end up with mud on your face. If you're going to fight for a viewpoint or an opinion that you've got, you want to be damn sure that it's worth fighting for and that you're not going to embarrass yourself by aligning with something that's actually a bit yeep, you know? So make sure your opinions are very well informed. Now, moon with Mars is actually a Vedic yoga for financial and material success. So thumbs up in that regard. Yay. If you've got this combo in a good sign where both are in good dignity, you can achieve financial and material success in life. If it's in the second house or if it's in the 10th house, this is a powerhouse for financial and material success. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the moon is the mother figure and how our mother nurtured us. And when it's with Mars in our chart, it indicates that our mother might have been something of a fighter, something of a warrior type person. A bit of a Wonder Woman, a bit of a superhero in your life, actually, your mum. She might have also, on the flip side, been a bit aggressive, a bit determined, a bit, maybe a bit argumentative, which could really suck. But there's good and bad, shadow and light in everything. And so she might have been very determined, very energetic. She might have liked to play games. Mars is very playful energy, actually. It's a very youthful energy. It's the energy of the young man. And so when Mars is with the moon, your mother might have been quite youthful. In not so much in the way she looked, perhaps, but she might have been the one to pull out the board games on a Friday night and sit down and play board games with you, or go to, the local basketball court and shoot some hoops with you. This is what the mother energy can be when it's joined, moon is joined with Mars. She would have also been quite strong, and quite courageous as well. This is how you'll mother as well if you're a woman, and if you're a man, your nurturing and caregiving will also carry these qualities as well. You know, you as a father or you know, just say you're looking after your nephew or investing in somebody's life in some way, you might be the kind of guy who says, let's go shoot some hoops, you know, let's get out the board games, let's play, as a form of care and nurturance with this energy. Now, as a man, you're also going to want these qualities in your partner. Someone who's probably quite sporty, to be honest. You will appreciate a partner you can have a hit of tennis with. You're also going to appreciate a partner who's a bit feisty, who is not afraid to have a bit of an argument with you and put you in your place. You'll want a partner who is quite, not so much opinionated, but very determined about what they do believe and what they think. You'll want somebody who's courageous, who's a bit of a Wonder Woman, who's strong and powerful. This will really turn you on, having someone like this. And you'll also want someone who's quite sexy. Mars is sexy, sexy, sexy. And so having a partner who can, you know, physically turn you on in that way, this is something you're going to want, something you're going to look for. Someone who's a cold fish, forget it, not your bag. If you're a man, you've got Mars conjunct the moon, you're wanting someone who's red hot, who's fiery, who's desirous, who's passionate. Lovely. Now, because of the karmic nature of the moon, when it's with Mars, it's very telling. It's a telling signature that says that in a past incarnation, or maybe in early childhood for that matter, we might have been somewhat independent. Mars is a highly independent planet. So we might have had a very independent past life, or as a child, we might have been quite independent, or we might have grown up in a home environment that was quite argumentative. There might have been a lot of arguments, or we might have had a past life that was sort of that way inclined, or we might have in a past life been involved in some sort of fighting scenario as a knight or a warrior or as a soldier or something. Very much the nature of Mars. Unlikely that that's the case in your childhood, touch wood, that you haven't had to be a child soldier or anything horrific like that, but certainly in a past life, the capacity is there when you've got Mars conjunct with the moon. You will have had a need for courage in some way in a past life. Courage and strength and valor. And this may have also been the case in your early childhood. You might have needed to be courageous and strong in your childhood in some capacity as well, seen by the moon with Mars. Now, Mars is an energy that is very entrepreneurial and highly creative, actually. They're great ideas people, Mars strong people. And with a moon, which is intuition and flow, then you can have a really good sense of how to put your best foot forward entrepreneurially in life and where you should take action. Mars is to take action. Moon is, like I said, intuition. So you will just intuitively know when you've got moon with Mars how to put your best foot forward, how to make things work, where to direct your entrepreneurial energy. You'll just intuitively get how to direct that, and you'll come up with really creative ideas as well for your, you know, maybe small businesses. Maybe you'll come up with really creative ideas. Depends on the placement of moon and Mars. If it was in the 10th house, you'll come up with really brilliant, intuitive and creative ideas for your career. Or if it's in the 2nd house of money, you'll come up with intuitive and creative ideas for making money. So this is how this flow can happen with moon Mars in that entrepreneurial and creative manner that also incorporates moon intuition. Now, what about the negative things? This is a malefic planet, like I said. So there's lots of benefits here, but there's also some challenges, okay, that we really need to pay attention to. Well, the first one that naturally comes out whenever you're talking about Mars energy in a chart is to be hot-tempered, to be sort of overly fighting, to be too much of too pushy, too not so much stubborn, although that can be the case with the moon energy, especially in a fixed sign we could be very stubborn, but it's to be very opinionated, like over the top opinionated, so that it pisses everybody off. You don't want that. Hot-tempered, stubborn, overly opinionated kinds of people. It's also a signature that can be an indicator of having dramatic emotional displays, you know. You're too you're too emotionally, volatile. And the kinds of people you see down this, you might be down the street and you see a couple arguing and yelling and screaming at each other in the main street, and you're like, oh God, which way do I look? That kind of overly emotional drama kind of stuff, which is not very appealing. This is the negative side of Mars with Moon. That sort of stuff can come out. Like I said, stubbornness, but tunnel vision as well. Less adaptable. It's not so much a fixed energy Mars, but they don't like being told what to do. It's not like you're stuck. It's just that you know best. Thank you very much. I'm independent. I'll do it my way. I'll follow my rules. Don't you tell me what to do. Mars energy there. It can be hard to change a Mars Moon's mind about something, so maybe don't even bother because it could be frustrating and futile for you if you're trying to convince them of something and they're dogmatic in their opinion. So keep that in mind when you're communicating with a Mars Moon person as well. They can tend not to listen to advice. As I just illustrated, they've got this independent streak that is massive in them. So they're not going to listen to advice that you give them. Whether they've asked for it or not, they will make choices for themselves. They will decide. They will go their own way. So if you're communicating or in some sort of interaction or relationship with the Moon Mars person, don't be too attached to your opinion. Don't be too attached to expecting that people will listen and obey you. That is not going to happen with a Moon Mars person, because they will independently pursue what they think, regardless of what you say. So if you're a Moon Mars person, and you tend not to listen to advice, maybe sometimes you should. Maybe sometimes you should rein in that independent streak and actually weigh up the opinions of others and see if they've got any merit and any benefit for your life too. So this goes both ways for people who are dealing with Moon Mars, and also if you've got it, make sure that you are acting with wisdom and balancing things up with a few other opinions as well is not wrong. It can be an energy, Moon Mars, that gets easily frustrated and easily irritated. So, road rage. You're driving down the street and someone cuts you off, and all of a sudden there's language and words and the birds flying everywhere, So just, if you're Moon Mars, practice anger management, that irritability that's just ready to pop, at the least provocation. It can also be, and this is not so much a bad thing, actually, it's really quite a lovely thing, to be quite honest, but they are the energy of the rough diamond, that tough exterior with a heart of gold. Now, the character of Mick Dundee, which if you're familiar with that Australian story, he's sums this up immediately. I mean, he's not volatile like most Mars Moon people are, but he is that rough diamond energy where, he's this outback guy and he's funny and he's got his mates and he's drinking his beer and whatever, but take him to New York and everybody just loves him because he's got this good heart and he's funny and he's cruisy, and so very much that rough diamond energy. Not so much the other characteristics I've just described here, but that rough diamond energy we could use with an archetype like, say, the Mick Dundee kind of person, or anybody who on those sort of makeover shows or whatever, where someone's a little bit rough around the edges, but they've got a heart of gold. That's Moon Mars, and I really love that energy. I'm a big Mick Dundee fan. It's really interesting. Actually, this is a tangent, but I should do a look at Paul Hogan's chart one day, because it is a fascinating thing to look at his chart and see how this bridge painter from Sydney, used to paint the Sydney Harbour Bridge, rose from nothing to become, top comedian in Australia, and then went on to sort of take on the world, so to speak, and came from very simple, what we call in Australia, ochre roots. So it would be an interesting journey to look at that chart. I don't actually know if he has Moon Mars conjunct, but certainly the Mick Dundee character fits that rough diamond illustration. What about the remedies for Moon Mars troubles? Well, we need, when we've got this conjunction, we need a constructive outlet for our passions. We really need like kickboxing or jogging or something energetic, you know, maybe boxing or going to the gym or something where we can energetically release the tension, the frustration, the anger, the argy-bargy that bubbles up in us when we've got this volatile energy in our wiring, our astrological wiring. So if you're not able to, and let's face it, not everybody is able to, you know, get out and do their energetic things. Sometimes you've got too many responsibilities that you can't free yourself to go for a jog or a run or something, or are you physically well enough to do so. So how else can you work with these energies of Mars? Well, you could build something. Mars is connected with construction, and use of tools is a very Mars thing to do. So you might like to, I don't know, build something with wood or even, you know, create like a little, I don't know, miniature town or something out of bits of old cardboard, and you use knives. Mars is to use knives, and you cut up the cardboard and make little roofs and, you know, do some sort of creative endeavor. Mars is a very creative planet, and so is the moon, very imaginative. So you will have a great creative and imaginative capacity for this combo. And of course, Mars is to build something. So build something, construct something. It doesn't have to be go out and build a house, you know, it could be like I just described, some little model village or something. Do models, you know, airplane models or house models, or I don't have Moon Mars. Mars is very strong in my chart, but I don't have Moon Mars. But I loved to, when my kids were little, we had Thomas the Tank Engine train set, and I'd be the one playing with it all the time because I love to build the trains and run the trains around and put little houses and all that sort of stuff. So building something is a great outlet if you've got strong Moon Mars energy. Getting into the garden, that's something else you can do. Now, it might not be kickboxing type of energy, but it's an energetic practice to get out there and pull some weeds if you're feeling frustrated. The moon is actually connected to the earth. It rules or is correlated to the 4th house, which is about the ground, anything under the ground, and in the ground is the earth, but it's also property and land and home. So if you've got Mars, which is all about building and using tools, and the moon representing the earth and the ground and property, getting out in the garden is perfect channeling of this energy to your best advantage. Getting out and pulling weeds will get rid of that anger and frustration and irritability that might bubble up, you know. Create something new. That's also very much, as I said, the energy of Mars, Moon combined, that imaginative, creative endeavor. That could be, you know, it might be writing a recipe, inventing some sort of new food that you, I don't know, new stir fry. You're using your knives, you're chopping up your veggies that come from the earth, and the moon is connected very much with to offer hospitality. So you might like to invent some new recipe and then try it out on your friends who come around for dinner or something. Create something new. That's a wonderful way to channel Moon Mars energy. Now, like I said, your emotions have to be expressed in some way with Moon and Mars. So extreme sports, if you have the capacity for this, intense sports, the gym, edgy kind of things, you know, vigorous, energetic exercise, skiing, because you're using tools, implements to ski. These are all very Mars kinds of activities, and so if you have the capacity, go for those. But I've given you some other options as well that can help you release the tension of Mars if you're not quite able to get out there physically. So I hope this helps channel the energy of Mars Moon for you, and helps you to celebrate this really rather special little combo that you have in your chart. Thanks for joining me. I'll have another moon with another planet connection for you next week.